All right, welcome to the Explainer. Today we're going to tackle a tool that is absolutely everywhere right now, Microsoft Copilot.
So, I'm sure you've heard the buzz around AI assistants, but what is this thing really? How does it go beyond just being a chatbot to actually change how you write a report, build a presentation, or sift through data?
Okay, so to answer that, we first have to get our heads around what Copilot actually is, and maybe more importantly, what it's not.
Okay, so the very first thing you got to get is this. You don't just open Copilot like you open Microsoft Word. That's not how it works. Think of it more like a smart assistant it's woven right into the fabric of the tools you already use every single day. Your email, your spreadsheets, you name it.
And under the hood, this is all running on some pretty familiar tech. It's actually built on those powerful large language models from OpenAI, the same company behind tools like ChatGPT. We're talking GPT-4 for the tech stuff and DALL-E 3 for making images. Okay, so that's the theory. But what does this AI assistant actually do for you in the real world? Let's stop talking about abstract ideas and look at some real, practical examples of what Copilot can pull off. So imagine this. You're in Word, you're staring at that dreaded blank page. Instead of panicking, you just give Copilot a simple prompt, like draft a blog post about solar energy. And bam, in seconds, you got a full article. From there, you can just tell it, hey, change the tone to be more professional, or make the section shorter. It's pretty wild. And then there's PowerPoint, which is wow. Instead of that painful process of copying and pasting bits and pieces from a long report, you can literally just hand the whole document to Copilot and say, turn this into a 10-slide presentation. And it just does it. It figures out the structure, pulls out the key points, and even suggests layouts. And look, for anyone out there who gets a headache just thinking about complex Excel formulas, this is a total game changer. Seriously, you can now analyze your data just by asking questions. In plain English, you can ask it to spot trends, find your top performers, or just build you a chart, and it happens instantly. Okay, this all sounds amazing, right? Which, of course, brings us to the big question everyone's thinking, what's this going to cost me? So let's break down the different versions. So Microsoft has this tiered approach, and you can see it laid out here. It's really designed for three different kinds of people: the casual user, the individual who's a real power user, and then, of course, businesses. And as you'd expect, that price jump is all about how integrated it is and, crucially, how secure it is. First up, you've got the free version, and don't get me wrong, it's pretty powerful. You get web-connected chat, you can create images. It's a lot like what used to be called Bing Chat. But here's the catch. It doesn't live inside your Office apps. It's separate. Now, for $20 a month, you get Copilot Pro. And this, for individuals, is where the real magic happens. This is the one that brings all those superpowers we just saw in Word, Excel, PowerPoint directly into your documents. And then you've got the business plan. At $30 per user, this one adds the stuff that companies absolutely need. We're talking about enterprise-grade security and way deeper integrations across their whole system, especially inside Microsoft Teams, where it can do things like summarize meetings and keep track of who's supposed to do what. Okay, but here's the thing. Price is not the only difference between these plans, not by a long shot. There are some really critical security and data privacy details here that you absolutely have to understand before you jump in. And that leads us to this, which is probably the most important question for any professional or business. Can you actually trust this thing with your company's data? The answer, it turns out, really depends on which version you're paying for. And this right here shows the single biggest difference. Microsoft calls it the commercial data boundary. Here's what it means in plain English. With the free and pro versions, your conversations could be used by Microsoft to help train their AI models. But, and this is a huge but, with the enterprise version, your data is completely protected. They do not use it for training, and it never ever leaves your company's secure bubble. This is the key distinction you're paying for. And it's not just about data privacy. You've got to be aware of a few other built-in risks. The AI can hallucinate, which is a nice way of saying it can confidently make stuff up. Then there's the whole legal gray area around who actually owns AI-generated content. And for businesses, this is a big one. It can accidentally surface internal files that were shared too widely, if your security permissions aren't totally locked down. Okay, so let's put this all together. We've talked about the power, the price, and the risks. So what's the big takeaway? How should you actually be thinking about using a tool like Copilot?
The absolute best way to think about Copilot is not as your replacement, but as a force multiplier. It's like having a super capable, super fast junior assistant. It can create amazing first drafts, but it needs your guidance, your expertise. You have to fact check it, and at the end of the day, you give the final approval. And that brings us to the most important rule of thumb. Use Copilot as an assistant, not as an authority. You have to treat everything it gives you as a really good first draft, but never, ever as the final, verified truth. Your brain, your judgment, that's still the most important part of the equation. And so that leaves us with one final question for you. Now that you've got the framework, you know what this tool is, how it works, what the pitfalls are, take a second and really think about it. How could a powerful but, yeah, imperfect assistant like this actually change your day-to-day work? The answer is going to be a little different for everybody.